Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Spiritual Growth Sessions with me, Cody. Thank you so much for tuning in. For anyone who's been watching, greatly appreciate it. If you're new, welcome. So one of the things that I've been hearing about a lot on my kind of spiritual journey is the thought of like feeling your feelings. And it's something that I couldn't really relate to, but essentially what it talks about or what it says is instead of like if you have a difficult emotion or a difficult feeling, instead of suppressing it, you actually allow it to work its way through you and then you release it almost like it's some type of energy. And for me, I never did that. So I would hold on to things. I would never allow it to process and let it go. If anything, I would feed it more and make myself angry. And so once I was hearing about, feeling your feelings, it made me really interested to kind of think about, does that work? Is that something that I should try? And I've read it in a bunch of spiritual books. And so I was actually really looking forward to opportunity to kind of try that. There's lots of ways that I could have done it before. And I've tried to do it with interactions with, when I've gotten frustrated with my kids or something happens where I kind of allow the feeling of the emotion to kind of run through me and kind of almost feel like it's going through my heart and then leave. And so I've been kind of waiting for something a little bit bigger though, something that could have really triggered me and made me think, really get in my head for a long time. So just the other day, it was actually yesterday, it was early in the morning. I just dropped off one of my kids to camp, the older one, the 5-year-old, and I had my 4-month-old and then my 3-year-old in the car with me. And the 3-year-old loves his milk and we were out of milk. And, it was hot, it was 85 degrees. And so we were driving back from the camp and going back to our house. And there's a 7-Eleven that's literally just right around the corner from our house. I mean, you could walk there in like 3 minutes. So I drive to there and I park my car where we have a Jeep Limited, and I keep the car on. I lock the doors. Well, I don't lock the doors, actually. I kept the car on. I rolled down the windows, and I didn't want to take the kids out because neither of them had a mask, and I was just going to run in and out. I had full view of them. They were right in front of me. So I didn't think much of it. I felt like not super comfortable about it, but whatever. It was something I was going to do really quick. He needed his milk, and I was the one who was going to do it. And so I go into the store. I'm not really thinking that much of it. I'm doing my thing. I'm going fast because I just want to make sure I get it done just in case the baby starts crying or anything like that. So I'm definitely moving at a faster pace. And so then I step out of the store and I hear someone start yelling. And I realize that this gentleman who's in the car right next to my car is yelling at me. And I look at him and he's screaming at me saying, "That is the gnarliest thing you could do. That is the gnarliest thing you could do." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Leaving your kids in there. What the hell's wrong with you? That is the gnarliest thing you could do. What is wrong with you, man? What is wrong with you? Do you know somebody could have hopped in your car and somebody could have stolen your kids? What the hell is wrong with you?" And in that moment, what's the reaction that I think a lot of people would have? I had hostility, right? My heart started racing. I was being verbally accosted by this gentleman telling me that basically in my mind that I'm a bad parent. So I have this instant reaction to just go ham. I just want to go nuts. I just want to scream at him. I want to let him know he has no idea. All of these things start rushing through my head. I think a lot of people can imagine when you're trying to be, super cognizant of your children and you're trying to do something quickly and then someone steps into the situation and basically starts screaming at you. So this guy's sitting in his truck and he's leaning out of it and he just keeps going at me and he's staring at me. And while I'm just kind of looking at him and I'm like thinking of all the things I want to say to him. But instead of doing that, I take a deep breath, and I take a really deep breath, and I just said, "Okay, thank you. All right, thank you." I'm still really upset, right? But I allowed myself in that moment to not feed into what my mind wanted to do. And so then I just got in my car and I drove off. And he drove off first and he was staring at me the whole way out. And so I'm just sitting there, I'm like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Like, what, just back off. So I sit in the car, both my kids are chilling, everybody's fine. And I sit in the car and I start taking a deep breath and I start thinking about, why am I so triggered? What is happening to me right now that is making me so upset? And I came to a couple different, obvious reasons. One, it made me feel like I was a bad parent. Like I was already kind of stressed about doing it. And so I was trying to do it very quickly. And, I had my reasons and it wasn't obviously that big of a deal. I was in and out in so quick a time. And, but it made me feel like I was a bad parent. So immediately my ego was hurt. I was hurt. It made me feel like I was a bad person. Then of course I was very upset with someone yelling at me. And who does he think he is? And so as I'm sitting there and I can feel my blood start boiling, I just start breathing through it, right? And I start thinking about why this is triggering me and how this doesn't need to impact my whole day. So what I did was, they talk about, people that I follow, spiritual people they talk about now, after that happens, something like that happens, you can kind of process where the emotion is coming from. So then you can kind of step out of it. Why am I so triggered? What is happening right now? Instead of feeding into the emotion. And then the second thing is to actually feel it. Like, feel the emotion without letting your mind get into it. So what I did is I literally sat there, I quieted my mind, but I felt the energy from the exchange all through my body. And instead of pushing it down and feeding it with my mental construct of what I should have said, why didn't I do this? I should have punched him in the face. Who the fuck does he think he is? All those type of things. I just relaxed my body and I felt the emotion inside of me. And I could actually feel it like burning up a little bit. It was very, very surreal experience. So I'm sitting there and I'm allowing to process, and I feel it. And it's almost like a burning sensation in my chest. And instead of fighting it, I let it happen. I let it happen. I'm breathing through it. I'm being centered. Luckily, the kids were being really good, so I could take care of this while I was in the car. And I processed it, and I started driving a little bit. I started driving, and I realized that I hadn't quite processed it. There was still something feeling in my chest. So I pulled over again really quickly, quieted my mind, and I just let the emotion, I opened up, and I felt, a sense of calm, but I let the feeling work its way through. And so once I felt like it had actually kind of lifted out of me, I drove back home, and it was completely out of my mind. I didn't trip about it for another second for the rest of the day. I moved on from it completely. I told my wife about it from a very relaxed point of view, understanding what was happening, why I was triggered, how I didn't suppress the emotion, and that I let it just fully rise up, work its way through me, and then release. And it fucking worked. I haven't tripped about that since it happened. I needed 15 minutes to center myself, get myself ready, process through the emotion, and then move on. And I was just like, I was blown away. Like, I'm completely over the situation. This is something in just a few months ago that would have tripped me. I mean, I would have been driving down. I would have thought about driving back home. I would have thought about nothing else about what I should have said. How dare he? Who the fuck does he think he is? I would have been home. I would have caught myself in moments just getting in deep thought about what I should have said in the interaction, or how he would have responded to me if I'd done it. Like, all these mental, all this thinking about what I should have done or what could have happened, all the stuff that didn't happen, but I would have gone down down. And I honestly would never have allowed it to release. So there'd probably be a couple weeks down the road where I would sit there and the moment would come back up to me. And then again, I would start replaying it, because what I would do is I would have fed the emotion. And so then it gets you more worked up, right? So you're not actually doing anything except raising the tension inside of you. And so this time I did it differently. And that was my first real world experience where something happened to me. And instead of going batshit crazy or, just reliving that scenario over and over and over again, I processed it and it moved through me. And I'm not tripping about it anymore. If you know me at all, an event like that would have fucked with me for a very long time. I would have been, and because to be honest, I'm a very kind of fragile person. When something like that happens to me, I get very down on myself, and my reaction is to push back because it's messing with my ego, right? I'm hurt, and so I push back. And so I didn't do that this time, and that was a huge step. And now I can't wait for the next opportunity. I'm not saying I'm going to be able to do it like I did with this last one, but I can't wait now to kind of try it again, because now it's just I was able to release it and move on from it, and my day was all good instead of impacting me all day long, which is what it would have done all day long. I would have tripped about it. I would have lost to paying attention to my kids. I would have lost all this important stuff that I should be doing, thinking about what had happened over and over and over and over again, and then getting no resolution from it, thinking about it later, like I stated. So I wanted to share that experience because it was such an eye-opener for me, because I'd heard so many people talk about feeling it and not getting your head wrapped up in how the emotion feels, and just breathing and becoming centered and just feeling the tension and then have it release and work its way through you. And it legit worked. I was blown away. So I don't know. You guys should give it a try. There's lots of, if anybody has any questions for me or anything like that, there's lots of people who are a lot more well versed in it than I, who I can guide you to. But I mean, the shit works, dude. And I can't wait to try it again. I'm going to keep trying it in all these different situations, try to get my ego out of the way and just let this process, let the trigger kind of work its way through me instead of pushing it down and then it just pops up at a later date, you know? So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was something I really wanted to share because I think it could actually really help people, because for me, it was something that was just like, oh shit, it works. Like, so I didn't, it was a really good test. So anyways, I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this, please leave a comment, be sure to subscribe and share it if you think anybody can get something out of it. I hope you have a good one, and I will see you next Sunday for the spiritual growth sessions. Bye.